This is the basement membrane. This is a basal layer cell. This is the epithelium of tongue, and this is the lamina propria. And here you see these are the initial. So moving on to our next topic is GIT, and our first pathology is something non-cancerous, but it can lead to carcinoma and even malignancy. So our first pathology is leukoplakia. Let's break this word. Leuko means white, and plakia is derived from word plakion, which means the growth. So it is white growth on any part of oral cavity. So its definition is the white patch or plaque in oral cavity that cannot be scraped off and cannot be defined clinically or pathologically as any other disease. Here I use a line cannot be scraped off. Actually, there is a condition which is called candidiasis due to Candida albicans fungi. It can be scraped off. So what are the other conditions which are also white patch but not leukoplakia? These are local irritation, lichens planus and candidiasis. So why do we even care about this leukoplakia? Actually, there is 5 to 25% leukoplakias that are actually dysplastic, means these have tendency to convert into carcinoma. Now let's discuss histological spectrum of leukoplakia. There are actually 3 changes. The initial changes, which after some times convert into dysplastic changes and which results in carcinoma in situ. So for the initial changes, there is hyperkeratosis, which means the increased amount of keratin deposition. And the second change is acanthotic changes, which is diffuse epidermal hyperplasia. And clearly you don't see any kind of dysplasia. So this is a normal histological slide of normal tongue tissue. Here you see this is the basement membrane. This is a basal layer cell which actually holds the regenerating capability of epithelium. This is the epithelium of tongue. It is a squamous epithelium but not simple. Rather, it is a stratified squamous epithelium, means there are layers and layers of cells, and it also has a keratin layer. So it is keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, and this is the lamina propria. And here you see these are the initial changes, which is hyperkeratosis and acanthotic changes. There is considerable amount of hyperplasia of layers of cells. This is acanthosis, and there is increased amount of keratin deposition in this epithelium. So this is hyperkeratosis. So our next changes is dysplastic changes. We will see the irregular cells which have lost their polarity and there are abnormal mitotic divisions. Here you see these are increased amount of these dividing dysplastic cells. These have abnormal shapes, large amount of nucleus, and there is no specific head or tail of these cells. So there is loss of polarity. And finally, the third stage is carcinoma in situ. You will see that these dysplastic cells grows in such an amount that they completely fill the normal cells in epithelium. So this is full thickness carcinoma. It is called carcinoma in situ. In situ because these cells don't break the basement membrane. I repeat, these cells don't break the basement membrane. So there is no malignancy in these cells. So this is carcinoma in situ, the last stage. Now we will see the real histological slide of leukoplakia. So this is the real histological slide. Here you see these are the normal surface epithelium of tongue, and starting from this to this, these are the leukoplakia, such as growth of dysplastic cells and hyperkeratosis and hyperplasia of surface epithelium, which is known as acanthosis. This is the gross look of leukoplakia. Again, we can't identify any kind of abnormality unless we take biopsy and we see the specimen under the microscope to find any cellular or dysplastic changes. So this was all about the leukoplakia. Now let's talk about the erythroplakia. It is same as the leukoplakia, the same histological pattern, but it is now the reddish in color, maybe due to increased amount of vascular supply or the growth of new blood vessels. This is called erythroplakia. So its definition is red velvety lesions that is flat or slightly depressed. Here you can see in this image, these are the erythroplakic changes. So what's its clinical importance? It have much more greater risk for malignancy than the leukoplakia, and smoking is a risk factor. And as for the histological spectrum, it is same as that of the leukoplakia. This table concludes the difference between leukoplakia and erythroplakia. So this concludes our lecture of leukoplakia and erythroplakia.